Hey, Sully, how are you today?
Hey, man, pretty good. Thanks for joining us on the holiday weekend. I know you probably got a lot to get done, so we appreciate you taking a few minutes.
I can put off rapping for a few minutes anytime for you, Sully, anytime.
Thanks, man. You're the man. So what's your impressions so far? We're just about 2 weeks into the season here. Anything surprising?
Well, I think when you look at the Cape Atlantic League, I think you look at St. Augustine and Atlantic City, as we thought coming into the season would be the class of the league. And I think when you look at St. Augustine, they graduated Saeed Nelson, a top point guard who's now playing very well for American University. We did a story about him this week in the Press of Atlantic City and how well he's playing, averaging 16 points in 38 minutes a game. But when you look at St. Augustine, they seem to be deeper than they were last year, and they have 5 or 6 guys who can dunk the basketball. You know, chief among them, Justin Mutz, Marlon Hargis, Walter Harvey, and they're just a real high-flying, sort of acrobatic team to watch. So, St. Augustine's going to be a fun team to watch. And then you look at Atlantic City with the addition of WENJ-FM, even though they kind of lose last night to West Town, which is a team filled with Division I guys. You know, Atlantic City loses last night to a West Town team, and the third leading scorer on West Town in the game is being recruited by Duke in Kentucky. So when the third leading scorer in the game is going to Duke in Kentucky, you know you're playing a talented team. But those two teams have kind of established themselves as the team to watch in the Cape Atlantic League right now.
Yeah, you mentioned Saeed Nelson. We're actually going to have him on board here in about a half an hour. What a great young man. I mean, you try not to play favorites or anything like that when you're covering high school sports, but he was definitely one of the guys that I really enjoyed covering the last couple of years. So humble, always there for the media, whether it be after a game or if you just call him during the week, gets right back to you. Well-spoken, always giving credit to his teammates. I mean, those kind of guys don't come around too often, and it was really a thrill for me as a reporter, and I'm sure yourself as well, to cover his high school career.
Well, and that's one of the fun things about covering high school sports. You know, I can remember Saeed as a 14 or 15-year-old St. Augustine freshman. He was about 5'5", 5'6", played in the Battle by the Bay that night against Atlantic City and coming in and really playing well and kind of starting his career. And then you turn on the national television the other night, and he's playing against Villanova and doing the same thing. So, you know, that's one of the, the great things about covering high school sports is you get to watch these kids, sort of grow up in a span of 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, Mike, one of the teams I got a chance to see this week and was pretty impressed with was Mainland Regional. They got 6'9" Oshun and Brandon Savage from the outside, Samir Jones, who played some football this year. He's really a pretty dynamic player. They could be a team that could be really one of those squads you want to watch when it comes around time for the Cal tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. They're off to a 3-0 start, and you mentioned Oshun Asuni. We're going to have a story in the paper on December 26th. I guess this time, today's Saturday, so that would be Monday. Just talking about kind of the start he's off to. A lot of rebounds, a lot of points. He had 14 blocked shots against Absegami the other night. And you said, right, they're 3-0. And if you remember at the end of last year, Mainland was really, started slow last season and was really playing well towards the end of the season, went to Highland Regional, lost a heartbreaker in the South Jersey Group 3 quarterfinals at Highland Regional, a game they lost in overtime. They graduated a few people, but they bring back some key guys that you just mentioned. They're up to a 3-0 start. Now they're headed up to Southern Regional for the Score at the Shore tournament next week, a good tournament up at Southern Regional. They'll play Howell in the first round. Other teams in that tournament, of course, are the host Southern. You got Notre Dame out of Mercer County. You got Holy Spirit. You got St. Joe. So that's a solid tournament field and a great event up at Southern Regional. And you got a hot Mainland Regional team going in at 3-0. Looking to play well up at Southern Regional in that event.
Cole Raring's over there nodding his head. His brother's one of the enforcers off the bench there. He comes in and takes the charges, gets the fouls, gets the rebounds. One of those guys that does, and that's the cool thing about that team. They have 3 or 4 guys that come in and do that kind of dirty work. They don't care if they score 12, 15 points a game. They're in there to grab rebounds, intimidate in the paint a little bit. So they got a nice little mix going on there.
Yeah, and talking with Danny Williams and Ashun for the story, they kind of mentioned the kind of football players like Dalton, Cole's brother, that comes up the bench. I think Jack Bergman's another guy football player that kind of comes up the bench and does, the sort of the nitty-gritty stuff that every team needs to win to be successful. So right now, Mainland's got a good chemistry going. They're 3-0. They're off to a good start, and they're playing in a quality tournament at the Score at the Short Southern Regional next week. We'll see what they can do up there, maybe kind of keep this hot streak going.
Yeah, the interesting thing about the Mainland boys and the girls, I was talking to some people at Mainland when I was over there the other night, really their entire season for both these teams kind of comes down to foul trouble, and if they can stay out of it. They don't have a lot of depth on the front line. Both these teams have a lot of good guards, but when you're talking about Oshun and then on the girls' side, Kylie Watson and Gabby Boggs, those are some really talented front court players, and if they get into foul trouble, you kind of have to rearrange what you're doing on the court there. So it's really going to be important to see how they handle that as teams try to adapt to them and go after them a little bit in the front court.
Well, and you kind of said, I think the Mainland Regional girls, when they opened up the season, they lost down at Wildwood Catholic 58-54. They kind of got in foul trouble that night. I think Gabby Boggs was in foul trouble that game. And, Mainland fell behind and kind of had to play from behind the entire game. So, a good point there, because it's already kind of happened to them. They kind of, at least on the girls' side of the thing, with their one loss, they kind of did face foul trouble. So, like you said, staying out of foul trouble, keeping your most talented players on the court will be a key for Mainland this season.
Talking with Mike McGarry, press of Atlantic City. Mike, talk a little bit about Wildwood Catholic boys. They've gotten off to a pretty good start. I know they had a tough loss this week, but they rebounded from that loss with a win the next day. So what do we make of these guys?
Well, I mean, I saw them play Middle Township earlier this week, and, I thought they played really well. I saw the first game, too, against Burlington City. I thought they were still playing with that fast pace, but I thought the freshman Taj Thweet, a 6'5" freshman, really came in and gave them some inside scoring that they really didn't have last year, so they weren't as dependent on the three-point shot. They just seem to be playing with more purpose, more unselfish than last season. And then they go to Cape May Tech, and they get caught there. Josh Wright, a sophomore guard for Cape May Tech, one of the rising players in the Cape Atlantic League in all of South Jersey. I think he averaged about 20 points a game last year. He hits a running one-hander at the overtime buzzer to give Cape May Tech, its biggest regular season win in years. So, obviously that's a stumble right there for Wildwood Catholic. They come back and beat Wildwood last night. So they're 3-1. I think the key for Wildwood Catholic is just, we talk a lot about, talented teams, St. Augustine, Atlantic City. When those teams play you, and when St. Augustine comes to your gym and you play Atlantic City, that's your Super Bowl. And so, where a basketball team might have 5 or 6 big games a season, Atlantic City or St. Augustine is everybody's big game. And for, the people down in Cape May and even around the Cape Atlantic League, the United Division, Wildwood Catholic is beginning to become that sort of big game on a lot of teams' schedules. And, it takes a toughness to sort of handle that. And, that's something that maybe Wildwood Catholic has to mature in, sort of realizing that every night, every gym they go into, especially in Cape May County, they're going to get the other team's best game.
Talking with Mike McGarry, press of Atlantic City. Mike, is Atlantic City head coach Gene Allen in midseason form yet?
Well, I think he is, and a pretty good thing. I mean, Gene has 293 career wins. He's 7 away from 300. And, Atlantic City right now is in the midst of a tough stretch. They played that Westtown team last night that had a guy going to Arizona, a guy being recruited by Duke in Kentucky, Division I players all over the place. They're a boarding school from Pennsylvania. I think the guy who led Westtown in scoring had 21 points. He's going to Arizona, and he's from Yonkers, New York. What's he doing in a school in Pennsylvania? I don't know, but he was there playing against Atlantic City last night. Atlantic City now goes and plays Episcopal Academy, a traditional, Pennsylvania power, next on the 29th. Up at Weiner University, and then the next day they go up to Jersey City to play St. Anthony of Jersey City, the defending Tournament of Champions winners. So this is a tough 3-game stretch for the Vikings and Gene Allen. And right now they're 0-1 in this stretch, 3-1 overall. We'll see how they do next week. But this is a stretch that's going to test Atlantic City. It's going to make them better, as the season progresses, and especially get them ready, to defend their South Jersey Group 4 title.
Yeah, you talk about playing those kind of teams. That's got to go a long way in helping you when you get back to Cal competition in January.
Well, I think when you play those types of teams and then you come back into the Cal, I mean, the game has just got to slow down for you in the Cal. When you're not trying to score over a 6'8", 6'9" guy, you're trying to go over a 6'5" guy, or you're not, trying to dribble up against a jet-quick defensive guard. I think that will slow you down. So I think, this is going to be a game that, I think these 3 games are going to help Atlantic City. And then, like Gene says, I mean, if you go to Atlantic City High School to play basketball and you have the opportunity to play these types of games, these are the type of games that you want to play. As an Atlantic City player, you want to test yourselves against the best player, some of the best players in the nation. You want to have that opportunity, and Atlantic City has that opportunity, over the next week, and why not grab it?
Mike, real quick before we let you go, what's on your Christmas wish list?
Christmas wish list.
What's the big ticket item you asked for this year?
Maybe I'm looking for the Springsteen autobiography. That's what I'm looking for this year. So if I get that, that'll be, I'll be happy with that. And there's always a few, a couple shirts and then a lot of socks and underwear, basically filling out. So if I get the Springsteen autobiography, I'll walk away with a little smile on my face, tomorrow morning about, 11 a.m.
Good stuff. Hopefully Santa comes through for you, buddy.
All right, I'm hoping. I've been good all year, so we'll see what happens.
Hey, Mike, appreciate you jumping on board every week. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and enjoy your Christmas weekend with your family.
Anytime, Sully. Always love talking high school sports with you guys. Thanks for having me on, and Merry Christmas to everybody over there. Thanks.
You too. Thanks, buddy.
All right, see you later.
That's Mike McGarry, President of Atlantic City.